Hello, welcome to the Mad About You YouTube channel. My name is Madeline and thank you so much for coming back to join me today on my corner of the internet. It has been a while. I first recorded this episode back on the 5th of March and then I didn't really like something about it, I can't remember. And then, no, I got some new yarny delivery, so I'll just wait. I'll re-record the next week. So I did. And then after that, what happened? I waited like 2 weeks to do the editing, and I edited it. It took me half a day probably. It was all subtitled, like beautiful. And then the file corrupted. So I have the raw image for half of it, and then the beginning half just disappeared. Like I can't redo it. So here we are 6 weeks later, and it is Saturday the 17th of March 2021, and thanks for coming. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for watching and checking this out, and I can't promise that this mess will not continue, and if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for your patience and for coming back to see what I've got to say. The bonus of having recorded this twice already is that I have really extensive show notes already prepared, and last night I just added to them a little bit. So if I look over this way, it's because my laptop is up with it all typed out, ready to go. I've mentioned all that. Okay, so there's going to be a bit of a change. As most of you know, if you've been watching for a while, or even in the last couple of episodes, I've recently gone back to university. I'm studying a Masters of Teaching, and hopefully I'll be a qualified teacher in, I don't know, about 18 months. Downside to that is I'd have about zero free time anymore. I'm studying or working, and I really want to keep this channel going and that community that I feel like I have with those of you who watch and we talk on Instagram and whatnot. So I'm going to just try and stream of consciousness record this. If there's anything really bad that I need to cut out, I will edit, but I'm not going to have the subtitles. I will have everything written out in the description box below, but I won't have those cool come across the screen kind of headings anymore, because my time management is not good enough that I can afford to spend half a day or a day every fortnight or 3 weeks getting this up, getting it edited, to process, to put online. So I'm really sorry, but I want this to continue, and that's what I have to do. So there hasn't been a whole lot of knitting because like I said, I don't have a lot of time, but I have done a bit. I gave myself off too much time over Easter and our mid-semester break, so I have a bit to show, and I've had some things come in now. So yeah, we're going to talk about a work in progress. We're going to talk about a couple of finished objects. Then I have got some future makes that I want to talk about, and some stash enhancement, which there's quite a lot of because I did a bit of shopping in March. Reading, watching, listening, which I have updated now, since what I was reading, watching, listening 6 weeks ago is not really relevant anymore. And then there's a bit of a blather. So let's go with works in progress. First up, we have what I'm calling my semester 1 socks. So I cast on a pair of 2 at a time socks, I think in the very beginning of the semester, maybe week 2. And then this yarn is called, it's by Life in the Long Grass, and it was a club colorway. It's called Summer Fate, and I thought it was really cute. I really liked how bright and pretty it was, and after knitting my last pair of socks, I thought I wanted to have a pair of socks on the needles. 2 at a time is working. I haven't accidentally knit across or done anything interesting yet, so that is good, but I think I did about 18 rows for this cuff, and then every stitch marker is 20 rows. So I think what I'm going to do is do another 20 and then look at putting the heel in. But I haven't decided what type of heel I'm going to do yet, so I'll probably have to switch to individual needles while I process the heel, and then they'll probably go back on 2 at a time because I feel more accomplished. Like, not really, when I just sit down and knit one object, like if I was just knitting this and I was knitting more than I am, I think I'd feel more accomplished. But anyhow, that is what I've been working on, and I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I've got a couple of lectures where It's more of like a transmit, and I don't have to take a whole lot of notes. So when I have those, I like to sit and knit, and I find doing something with my hands makes me retain the information better. So that's useful, but I only have about like one subject I can do that with. My next object, which is really, I'm excited about this, but I'm also disappointed because I wanted to do a knit along for this item, and then I didn't get the episode out, and I cast on over Christmas. Do I have the pattern? I do. So I've been talking about it for a really long time, and I finally did something about it, and have the Vertices Unite. So I have the Stephen West Best Knits Shawls #1 book. I think it's #1. And then when you buy the book, you also get the Ravelry download. So I have about, I don't know, 10 patterns that came in this book. And then I decided, like I mentioned before, to use my leftover cash merino from my Fan Stitch. The rest of it, the Kumo, is here. And then I drew myself a little diagram to work out kind of the yardage required, and then what I was going to make out, the colours and where to put them. So that's been fun, but to be honest, I haven't had a lot of work since the Easter weekend, when I think I cast on then, and I did a bit, and then maybe last weekend I knit for maybe an hour. But this is what I've got so far. So this is section A, and it's not a whole lot, but you know, with something. There's, I can't remember, I think these were 20, 40, 60. Yeah, so I'm about 3/4 of the way through the increases on this particular section. And the yarns, which is what you care about, is these three, which is my Yellow Brick Road, Fleur Morganite and Madeleine, La Bien Aimée, and then the two other colours that I chose was this one here, which whoa, that looks, the light's not fantastic because it's 10 to 8 and I have to get this done this morning so I can work on my assignments this afternoon. This one is a grey, I can't remember the colours called, and then this one is the like turquoisey colour, and all of the details for this are on my Ravelry page. If Ravelry is not accessible for you and you are interested in the colours, please send me, leave me a comment below and I will figure that out for you. But if Ravelry is okay for you to use, or you are using that platform, feel free to have a look at the link below, which will take you to my project page. The only other thing is my granny stripe, which hasn't really seen any love. I think the last time you saw it, I was at this stitch marker here, and yeah, not a lot. I did realise that I've been doing the wrong thing at the edges. I've been doing the same thing every row, and that's not right, and I still haven't figured out exactly how to fix it because it's not really been a priority lately. So that's that. Okay, so that's it for works in progress. I don't have a lot going on. Finished objects, I do. So I did finish these in time for, no, they've been finished about 5 weeks now. And they are my shorty socks by and the pattern was by Summerlee Designs. I have 2, and these new sock lockets my sister gifted me for my birthday. So that's it. The tension is different. I knit these exclusively on DPNs and a 2.25, which I've never done before for a sock. The tension is different between the two. I think the first one I knit was far more loose than the second one, but that's, you know, learning. And I did quite enjoy it, and it got me to cast on another sock. It's just a standard slip-on heel flap, and then I did there was an option for like a supportive rib across the arch of your foot, except I miscalculated because of the gauge, and the arch of my foot is different on both. Anyway, that's fine. So the main yarn is by Kate Celine. It's a colorway called Blackjack, and it is her superwash merino, and then this contrasting toe is by Three Mums Yarn, and I'll link to their web shop below as well. And then I think last time I showed you this, it was a work in progress, but it's finished and the pattern is actually now available. But this was my test knit for Snickerdoodle Knits. Oh, that's the wrong side or the back. And it is called the On the Road Again hat, and I knit it out of Millpost Merino and Cleckheaton Country, and it was really fun knit. I knit most of it on a 16-inch circular, which was totally fine, except I got to when I got to the ends, I had to go to magic loop, and then that made it a bit more harder to count, and I didn't have the right zip in. So if you were going to knit this hat, which was really super quick, I think it took me like a day and a half, I would recommend you knit the whole thing in DPNs or the whole thing on magic loop, and then just watch your tension on those decreases here. But that was me, and that was my second ever test knit. I seem to test knit hats only, but it's mostly just a time thing. So yeah, that's all that I've really been knitting on or have finished. And then, there's something else, but I don't have it with me and it's not super exciting. It was a bit of a failure of a project anyway. I knit basically a long I-cord. I bought a pattern for a lanyard for my ID card holder for uni. My last job I used to have one, but they gave us one and it was really very prescriptive. You either wore the issued one or you just had your ID card on like a one of those on a clip with a pull out bead, like elastic sort of thing. So I got to uni and I'm used to having to wear my ID card everywhere. No one wears their ID card, so I don't need the lanyard so much. And then I ended up buying one from a mental health charity anyway, so that's what I got it on. But I basically just knit 2 really long I-cords whilst I was listening to lectures, and then bought some hardware from eBay. But I didn't realise how big my I-cord was versus how small the hardware was, because I wanted those quick release. Anyway, bit of a disaster. I don't think there's photos, but I do have a link on Ravelry for the project page. Okay. I was going to talk about my future makes here, but I just really don't think there's much chance of that happening. So I will quickly mention it as I talk through my stash enhancement, because some of it is relevant. So first off, I've had all this in this project bag that I made a couple of years ago when I first got my sewing machine. And I bought the Embody book by Jacqueline C. Slack, printed by Pom Pom Press. Because it's been in that bag, it's gone a little bit curly. But anyway, I pre-ordered this and it arrived back in March. And it is a pattern book for making to honour your body. It has cardigan, a shawl, and like some sewing patterns as well. And the cardigan can be made into a vest. It's called the Darren cardigan. It can be made into a vest. A cardigan, which is what I want to make, except it's made from sport weight. So I don't have a lot of knitting time as it is, so I don't think sport weight's going to work for me right now. And then also that looks super comfy. So anyway, it comes with Jacqueline's awesome, like, figure out your sizing, pop it on, whatever. So I'm really happy that that's arrived, and I'm hoping to look into it some more kind of at some point when I have some uni holidays. Secondly, I bought some yarn from Circus Tonic Handmade, Hannah, and I bought a fledgling duo in Pierre de Rosard. Basically, it is a 75 or 72% kid mohair, 28% silk, and a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. I just liked the pink colours. I wasn't really sure what I would do with it, but I quite like it. So that's cute, and it will live in my stash. The other thing I did buy from Hannah is a Life's a Circus pin, which you probably can't see very well. What's it called? When Life's a Circus knit on. So that's her pin. And then I recently had my 25th plasma donation, so I got a pin for that. So they're all living on this fringe bag. I just am not using it particularly often. And then Skein Sisters had the other thing I bought from her, some tuft woolens, which I was gifted a Russian flower scent. Not sure. I can't remember the scent, from Ricky, who was my fibre share partner back in 2017, and I absolutely love it. It's in one of my Notions pouches, so when Hannah is, I think she's the only Australian stockist of these, so I thought, oh, I'll just pop a couple in my cart, because what had happened? It was the week I left my job and I'd got my annual leave payout. It was like 6 weeks of annual leave, so I was like, ooh, that's some money. I wanted to like boost the local yarn economy, so I did. And then Skein Sisters had a birthday sale in March as well, so I bought this Malabrigo Ruster. It was on sale. It's usually $39.50, and I think I got it for about $27 maybe. And they didn't have a lot of colours left, but the reason I bought this was so that I could knit myself a pair of booties, because it doesn't get super cold where I am, but I packed both of my Ugg boots, so I have no winter slippers, and I thought, well, I could knit myself a pair of those not entirely sure what they're called, I can't remember, but I've got the pattern favorited on Ravelry, so at some point in the near future when I cast those on, I will show you. I got a really lovely note from Skein Sisters. I got a note from Hannah as well, but for some reason that is not in here. Oh, and I also bought another like gauge measurer thing, because I had one and I've lost it, I can't find it. And then also these sleeve needle holder things, but I probably should have bought two, because I feel like that's probably, one is not enough or appropriate. The sock blockers were from Bry Spun. They're stainless steel, and I got the medium size, so that was these. That was a birthday gift from my sister. And then I got my last order of things came from Tandy. So I've spoken about Tandy back in 2018, I think, when I was planning on a road trip of Victoria over Christmas, and we were going to visit, my ex and I were going to visit the farm and the shop and whatever. Anyway, it didn't end up happening, and so I've never been, but I have seen their yarn in person at the Celebration of Wool in Canberra, I think in 2018 as well. So I got a lovely note from Tom and the Tandy flock saying, thanks for my order, I hope I enjoy sampling the Polworth, and I hope one day we might have you down at the farm here, which is lovely. And I really would love to go to the farm and check it out. So I decided to I want to make a cardigan for myself. The one I'm thinking of is called the Sidelines Cardigan, and it is by So Sue Knits, or Suzanne Summer. She brought out a cardigan and a jumper pattern at the same time, and I bought both. I think she had 30% off if you buy both. They call for a DK weight, and I wanted to knit in an Australian yarn, and I want to try something that's non-superwash. So I did put a thing out on my Instagram stories a while ago. A few people replied, and I did put that story out there, or those replies, about makers who have non-superwash wool. And so when I did that, I had already sent off for some minis from Tandy. So I think they're about $3 each. And I didn't want to choose a jumper's quantity without having seen the colours, like I do with a lot of things, but just the nature of the wool, and I thought it would be a good idea to swatch with a with a mini, and then I can see how the colours play, because this particular jumper, if I remember, I will put a picture up here, which might be the only form of editing that I do. But and if I had my iPad, I'd just bring it up, but it's across the other side of the room and it's going to be too much. So I'm thinking maybe these two together. So this is like the cardigan, the button band and around the neck, and then also on the cuffs, and then this for the main cardigan, and it's called the Sidelines Cardigan, and it's actually knit sideways. So if the button band is like down the middle here, you knit across the bust and up the shoulder and the back, and then the arms, the sleeves are set in later. But I really like this colour too. Just trying to figure out like what will be nice for my skin tone and what will I not be bored knitting. Like I don't think a green jumper is practical, but these two more neutrally colours will go with more. And then there's this one, of course, which is lovely, but I don't fancy myself knitting a whole jumper that's me sized in something so dark. But anyway, they're all really lovely, and I got a little piece of lavender in. It came really nicely packaged with a cute sticker and whatnot. And then they also sent me Katrina Pirate Pearls. I think I got something else, but it's not in the packet here. But anyway, if you want information on Tardy, I've got their website in my notes for down below. But it's a historic wool shop and homestead in Warncourt, Victoria. And so it's called Tardy, but the real name is called Tarnda Warncourt. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's a Aboriginal word describing the small hills upon which stands one of the oldest surviving homesteads in Victoria. It's defined... The cat's just running up the stairs. It's defined by the custodianship of 6 generations of a Cornish colonial family and their role in developing a breed of sheep suited to the local environment, which is the Polworth sheep. So this is a little bit of a map here. So yeah, they're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Ravelry as well. So the website's www.tardy.com. So definitely recommend checking those out. The yarn is lovely. Like, I mean, I haven't knitted up yet, but it feels so great. Yes, okay. So I was going to talk about my planned future make for the Pierre shawl, but I've put all the yarn away. So basically, I think I might make the Pierre shawl at some point. It needs 4 skeins of DK, but I've got 4 skeins of, like 4 single skeins that I got together for a slipstravaganza that I never made. And I think I want to hold those double. They fade, they fade really nicely into each other, so I think that I will probably do that at some point. Okay, so reading, watching, listening. It's a quick segment where I tell you what I've been reading, watching, listening. Funnily enough, I had a few recommendations from 6 weeks ago. I think I might have said that in the introduction, but I have, sorry, that look is because I've got a bit of a back injury. I've been in the gym and I think I did something. Anyway, it's okay at some points and then it flares up, and if I move a certain way it just gives me a shot of pain. It's not fun. Okay, so reading. I'm in the process, and I don't usually recommend something before I finish, but it's called Heartsick by Jessie Stevens, who is a writer for Mamma Mia, which is a women's media company in Australia, and it's a book about heartbreak. I'm probably about halfway, and I did buy the book on pre-order, so I have a signed copy actually, but I also bought it on Audible because my uni's about an hour away from where I live, so I've been listening to it either at the gym or at uni on my way to and from uni. So I bought it on Audible with all my credits as well. What have I written for myself? It's beautifully written, and it's heartbreaking and super relatable, especially because my heart was ripped out 18 months ago, 2 years ago. But I was a bit concerned because I thought I might find it triggering, but I think I've processed a lot of my heartbreak. So at the moment it's interesting. I'm enjoying it, but it is a bit sad, but it's just so beautifully written. If you read it for anything, just the prose is just great. Watching. Now, I had a completely different recommendation, but I changed it because last night I have finished 2 assessments. I finished writing 2 assignments yesterday, so I gave myself an hour and a bit off, and I watched something called The Big Day. It's on Netflix. It's a docu-series, and it's each episode follows a couple of couples, usually 2, maybe 3 couples, who are typically Indian, or they're having an Indian wedding, and the lavish ceremonies. It's eye-opening, fantastic, really interesting from a cultural perspective. A lot of they're mostly Hindi or Punjab weddings, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And I watched the first season probably over like the Christmas break, and then season 2 has come out. I don't know if recently, but it was really cool. And the first episode I really liked. It had interfaith marriages and intercultural marriages, so that was cool. And then podcast listening. I've been listening to a whole lot of different ones, but one I particularly stayed with me, and this recommendation is from 6 weeks ago, is the Dare to Lead podcast, which is Brene Brown with Chad Sanders. Chad Sanders wrote Black Magic. It's a book about what Black leaders learnt from trauma and triumph. And I would also recommend Chad Sanders on Armchair Expert as well, and that was probably in late February, early March, that episode. Uni started since I spoke to you last. I'm at week 6 now. Crazy. I go on my professional experience, or PRAC. What it's now called is SP, but I don't. Students' professional experience, maybe. Anyway, I go on that in a month for 2 weeks. So deep end. Hello. I don't think I'm ready, but obviously the uni thinks I am, so that'll be fine. My coursework is much more involved than I thought it was going to be, and I don't know why. I try not to have any expectations, but I think I've now realised I actually did have expectations of myself and what the course would be like. So I'm hoping to get more into the swing of it, but it's getting there. It's super interesting. It's just, everything's new. I've never learnt about, well, not since I was at school, and they didn't tell you the theory behind anything or the reasons why you did stuff. This is really interesting, fun. I had my first teaching demonstrations this week, so we did an 8-minute demonstration, and I talked about the ancient Aztecs because I'm hoping to be a history teacher, and that was cool, and for year 8s. And then my other one was year 8s, and it's the Ottoman Empire, and that's my depth study. So at the moment I'm writing a unit plan for a unit of study of the Ottoman Empire. So if any of you watching are history teachers and you've taught the Ottoman Empire and you want to give me some tips from the Akara, that'd be awesome, because this does not get taught very often, because apparently the Ottomans are not sexy enough for history, but you know, they did some pretty cool things, and empire lasted a really long time. So anyway, tangent. My feedback was good. I got told I had good direction and authority over the class, which, coming from my last job, that's not exactly a surprise. I just don't want to turn into Miss Trunchbull, so I'm hoping that it's a little more pastorally and not like, I don't want to be a Tilla the Hun, I'd rather be Miss Honey. So anyway, so I finished officially my full-time job in March on the 8th, and I have found the transition from full-time employee, occasionally a part-time student, to full-time student, part-time employee a bit more difficult or different than I thought, and that's because I think, upon reflection, my job was mostly autopilot for me. Like, I did new and challenging things, but I had the base knowledge which I built up over like 11 years, so it wasn't really hard. Like, some things were hard, but in terms of like brain power every day, I don't really have to use that much. Come this study, I haven't studied full-time in a long time. I haven't studied this subject matter ever. I feel really out of my depth. I'm not questioning my decisions at all, but I kind of feel a little bit, whoa, what happened? So yeah, it's still mildly terrifying. I want to vomit before my teaching demonstrations. But they went well, and I was happy with it, and I got good feedback so far. I'm waiting on the rest of it, so that was fine. Yeah, I guess I had forgotten. This was an acquisition. It's a Notions patch by Mo and Me. I went through it all before my camera cut out, but it just opens up like this. It's really well made, pretty fabric, and I would buy another one, honestly. I think it's great. And since I'm not editing properly, or like, you know, as thoroughly as I used to, here's the business card if you'd like to look them up. I bought it off Etsy. I think they have an Instagram page as well. Okay, finally. This is probably shouldn't be in blather, but it's Advent season, as in dyers are bringing out their Advent calendars, and those of us who've been squirreling our way our pennies are trying to decide what to buy. I had a really hard time last year, and I bought 2, one from Louie and Lola and one from Love and Speckles. Now, I used the Louie and Lola and made the habitation throw, which you've all seen if you've watched this channel before for a while, and I opened them all during Vlogmas last year. Problem. I don't think I'm going to use my Love and Speckles. So I've created a page on my Ravelry stash, or in the trade or sell tab, and I have put my faceted gemstones collection on there. No interest so far. It didn't really come with any bonuses other than like a chocolate, which I ate. If I did, I would have put them in there. And I've got the piece of paper which has all the colourways with some photographs on there. So if for some reason you didn't get an advent calendar last year, or you missed out on this one and you'd like it, please send me a message on Ravelry, or you can leave a comment here or whatever. But I don't love all of the colours, and I think it'd be a waste to break them up and use them individually if someone's would like to have it complete. So they're a bit sad to be parting ways, but I just think it's probably a quarter of the colours aren't in my wheelhouse, and I have a few yarny friends that I would gift some to, but if I could pass it on to somebody else, then I could use those funds for an advent calendar for this year, which I'm looking into at the moment, which I think is probably silly because, you know, time. But anyway, hopefully my time management will increase, or will get better by Christmas, and I'll only have 6 months left of this degree. How crazy is that? Oh, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I slept pretty well. Okay, well, that's it for me. I've got the notes ready to go. This is in a few clips because I had to stop because of noises, but I'll meld them together and this will hopefully be online by tomorrow. Thank you so much for waiting around. If you want to find me online, I'm Madbell on Ravelry, and I'm Mad About You on Instagram, and all of that is linked down below in the description box. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.